So let's go on YouTube and then share this. So okay, so I'm going to put you backstage, but then I would call you soon, please. So
So
let me.
this link is this going the link you're going to be sharing, is it the same link to the one you sent to
Yes,
me?
I'm going to go to my YouTube now and then share the link from there. So it's the
Can you
YouTube link
share
I'm going to share with people, not this one, not this link. So now I want to share. Where's the link now? Just a minute. Why is okay? Let me go to YouTube. Okay, yes, I've seen the link. So let me just copy and paste to everyone.
Copy and send this to me.
Yes, I
Use the
will.
guy
I will.
this to my list. Battery back now. Auto battery
Don't worry,
died.
don't worry. It's fine like this. It's fine like this. So let me just copy the link and okay.
Are you live already?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so good.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so
Yes, it's
much
so
for.
convenient.
Coming. Thank you. Hi, good evening. I'm so sorry. There was a glitch and but please can you hear me, everyone? Can you hear me? Thank you so much for those joining. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that we started now. It was not my plan. It was not in any. So, please, I'm so sorry. Thank you. All right, let's get right into class because we are late. We're literally like very late already. So let me get into class. Okay, you can hear me now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said before, welcome to VDC 2.0. I presented the slides to you, and Okay, let me look for the slide. I was really jumbled around. Yes, so welcome everyone. Welcome to Vocabulary Development Conversations 2.0. Thank you for your time. I'm sending the link now to everyone just so they can join. And thankfully, thank God it is a recorded class, so they can always come back to actually when if they didn't hear this. Please kindly confirm if you can still hear me. Please kindly confirm as I continue. Please kindly confirm if you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Is it a yes? Please kindly confirm. Can you the text box? Please kindly confirm if you can still hear me. Please, I'm looking at the text, the chat box right now. So I would like to know if you can still hear me. I'd like to know if you can still hear me. Kindly confirm. Kindly confirm. I'm waiting on us. I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Okay, I can still hear you, but what? I would like to know what the but is. So I'm knowing if I can still adjust something. Okay, what is the but, please? EJ, what is the but? I can't hear you. Wait, let me go. I can't hear you. Oh, it breaks from time to time. I think over time it will adjust. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. But let's start since you can still hear me. That is such a relief. We've been having a glitch around not hearing me for the past minutes. So let's start. Welcome to VDC 2.0. I'm so excited. My excitement almost dimmed, but it's still there. So thank you so much for joining today's class. I'm really grateful. Let's get right into today's class. I'm not alone in this time around. So I was about to do exchange of pleasantries, but I think I'm going to skip that part because of time. But feel free to let me know where you're listening to me from in the chat box. Feel free to do that. I also wanted to tell us to go straight into class mode. And if you are not with your writing materials, please go get them. It's time to get into class mode right now. It's time to get into class mode. Let's get right in. We are literally behind schedule. So the outline I'll be taking, because I'm not alone, Coach Rere is here to teach us. Thank you so much for your patience and time, Coach Rere. We are really looking forward to learning from you. So my outline and my work here today is really, really short. I'll be sharing with us the importance of intentional vocabulary speaking, and I'll also be sharing tips to constant and healthy vocabulary development. So the first one, before we go into class like that, here are some ground rules I want us to please adhere with. The first one is open mindedness. We'll learn a lot from today's class. Please be as open minded as possible. Please be as open minded as possible. Then respect. This is an online class. We are online participants. I don't expect any form of rudeness or argument online, but I just want to share that. And the last one is responsiveness. Please, from time to time, please let's make use of the chat box. Let me know if you are following, if you can hear me, all that good stuff. So let's get right into today's conversation. I will be sharing four major reasons why intentional vocabulary speaking is important. Kindly let me know if you can still hear me. If it's a yes or if it's a no, let me know, please. I would really like to hear that. MJ says I it breaks from time to time, but still let me know if you can still hear me, please. So the first reason rather why intentional vocabulary speaking is important is if you have a bigger picture of who you are as a global talent. So, like I said, it's important if you have a bigger picture of who you are as a global talent. This has to do with your mentality. If you have the mind that, oh, thank you, Emily. Thank you, EJ. Thank you so much. I still hear me. So, if you have the mindset that you are a global talent, there's then it is very important that you have to be intentional in your vocabulary speaking. As a global talent, you can't just speak anyhow. You have to be intentional about your vocabulary speaking. Take time to speak well wherever you are. Always remind yourself, I am a global talent. In fact, feel free to type that in the chat box. I am a global talent. I am a global talent. If you have that in your mindset, you would be intentional about your vocabulary speaking. The next point is that it helps you to build long-term communication habits over time. It also helps you in storytelling. You would find out that if you are intentional with your vocabulary speaking, it helps you to be more expressive and very creative in your speaking. If you I can see you. Thank you so much. You are a global talent. Then the third point is that it is important to be intentional about your vocabulary speaking because it helps boost your confidence in speaking. If you are speaking and you know that you're making sense, I mean, you be confident about what you're speaking. There's a caveat there. You have to be prepared every time when you speak, of course. Like you have that's why vocabulary development over time, you keep on developing yourself. If you are intentional about your vocabulary speaking, about your vocabulary development, it helps you boost your confidence in speaking. So wherever you're called upon in a meeting, you know you are making sense and you know everyone listening to you is learning indeed. The last point here is that it is important for official correspondence. I know Coach Rere is going to tell us more about that, but the intentional vocabulary speaking is important for official correspondence. I am an advocate for good speaking, but at the same time, of course, there's always room for informal speaking. Nonetheless, in office, there's a way you should speak in office. So, intentional vocabulary speaking is important for that reason because there is a way you should speak in the office, and if you don't speak that way, it's not going to be good. You won't even enjoy your office interactions. So that is why vocabulary speaking is very important. So, tips to constant and healthy vocabulary development. The first tip here is that you have to be interested in learning and improving your grammar. Grammar speaking is the foundation of vocabulary development. You have to know what words match what words, right? So grammar speaking is very important. Also, be open-minded. If you want to speak well, you have to be open-minded to how people correct you about things. If they are correcting that, oh, this is not the way to pronounce a word, for example, be open-minded to accepting it. We are different people. We have different backgrounds. We have different things, different experience. So be open-minded to healthy vocabulary development. The third point, the third tip as well, is to be conscious of how. Oh, there's a typo error there. Be conscious of how you speak both online and offline. This does not mean that every time you're offline or online, when you're talking with your friends, you should be very formal. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that be conscious, regardless of wherever you are. You have to be conscious of how you speak both online and offline. It is context specific. For example, if you're speaking with your friends, I mean, for bonding sake, you speak local English, informal English. But apart from your friends, apart from friendships and informal conversations, always be conscious of how you speak. Make sure you're intentional about how you speak. So be constant of that. Be constant about that, rather, and then it helps you. The fourth point is to be conscious of your exposure to content. If you are watching Indian movies, if you are watching Korean movies, I don't know what to say to you right now. And you want to be intentional about your vocabulary development. No, 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 no. I understand you want leisure. I understand you are. It's we all love love. But if you're intentional, if you want to have a constant and healthy vocabulary development, please be conscious of your exposure to content. Make sure that you get exposed to content that will help you speak well. Written content, there are really good classics that you can read, and listening content, especially because it helps you with your speaking. For example, listen to podcasts. I know I'm not listen to podcasts and watch movies, English movies that would help you speak well. Try to mimic what they are saying, and try to. Oh, That's the next point I'm going to say. To speak and practice what you have learned. Right. To be conscious of your exposure to content. I would recommend you listening to the Archers on BBC, on Spotify rather, the Archers BBC on Spotify. You can also listen to English with Lucy. I enjoy her content. And you can listen to content and music especially as well. That will just help you speak well, help you in your listening and perception about English and vocabulary development. And the next point is to speak or practice what you have learned. Yes, speak or practice what you have learned. Thank you, Richard. He says you can hear me. Thank you so much. So speak or practice what you have learned. If you learned a new word today, if you learned something that piqued your interest, make sure you try to practice what you have learned. It's really important. Do we understand? Are we following? Are we following? All right. So the next point is to connect with people who are interested in speaking well and leverage on communities or spaces that allow you to speak. So this is a very crucial point, and that's because we have different people here on the call, right? Some people might be remote workers that would not even necessarily need to speak English or to speak your probably your work is just texting, texting all day. And it's important for you to speak and speak well at the end of the day. So please find communities that will help you. If you're a university student, for example, find communities that you can join and you can always learn how to participate, speaking wise, and I mean other activities wise as well. So leverage on communities. When I was in university, I joined the Carol West community among other communities, and it helped me to speak with other friends and also we exchanged ideas. We spoke, and there's even a book club in Carol West. So if you're an undergraduate, leverage on that community, for example. And yes, that is a very crucial point. And here I will be talking about my book club. Here's my special invite to you for my book club. I hosting a book club. I hosted a book club last year around this time of vocabulary development conversations, and it was an amazing time. Hosting another one again next year, January. So feel free to join that if you want to join a community where we get to speak, get to correct ourselves about vocabulary development, and we get to view together. So you might want to check that out. In summary, rounding off now, and I'm about to hand over to our guest speaker for today. In summary, remember that you are human. You're human. Feel free to type that you're a human being. I hope there's no AI bot listening to this conversation. But yes, you're human. So it's feel free to make mistakes, but pick yourself up and forge ahead. Today was a glitch. But I knew this class had to hold, for example. You're human. And applying that to vocabulary, your vocabulary journey, for example, you would make gaffes, you make public mistakes, you would, I would say you be taboo. But yes, Please pick yourself up and be intentional. Always remind yourself you are a global talent. So you are not just a local champion. There's nothing wrong with being a local champion. You start with where you are, right? But at the same time, if you feel that if you have the mindset that you are going to speak in public spaces, you are not only valuable to your immediate environment, but people over the world, around the world, will still benefit from your value. Please remember that you're human. If you make mistakes, don't throw in the towel. Please pick yourself up and be intentional about forging ahead and growing. Okay. Then the next point in summary is to build a structure that helps you learn new words and speak them consistently. For example, we have the Merriam-Webster dictionary. You can check that out. It helps you with new words every day. You can check out other English dictionary, and it helps. Just look for something that will help you in building your vocabulary, and also be open to listening to conversations, pay attention to conversations more, and look out for new words when people speak. Another one is to be familiar with your dictionary or Google. Yes, be familiar with your dictionary or Google. One thing as well is in building a structure that will help you to learn new words. I mentioned my book club. You leverage on communities like that. I mentioned my book club that you can join. I mentioned some communities that you can join. In particular, I mentioned the Carry Wise community in uni. If you're a university student, feel free to leverage on that community. Feel free to join in by next year, January, or you can even start signing in right now. There's a group already for you. So leverage on those structures that would help you to learn new words. When we read books together, you learn new words definitely, and you can be able to speak and contribute your part in the community, for example. Be familiar with your dictionary or Google. Speak, and write, as our coach would teach us. And please, no, you do not need to speak with an accent. That is such a lot to unpack. But yes, you don't need to speak with an accent. If you're being intentional with your speech, how you're speaking is fine. It's good. Accents can give you it can give you attention, but at the end of the day, you don't want the wrong kind of attention or people thinking you are hypocritical at the end of the day. But be intentional about how you speak. Don't hesitate to check the meaning of a word or the pronunciation. We are learning. I mean, English language is not even our mother tongue at the end of the day. We are second language learners. So please feel free to always learn. And the last point, which was the first point in our last class, is that grammar foundation is very important. Please try to acquaint yourself with your grammar, how words are placed in a sentence. It's very important. It's very important. So thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the next session. Coach Rere will be joining us shortly, very, very shortly, in about right now, anyway. So thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of this class. I'm grateful. If you have any questions, please wait till the end of the class. We'll take all questions. So thank you so much. Please let's welcome Coach Rere. I really want us to respond. Please let's welcome them. If you can hear me, let's welcome her rather. If you can hear me, please let's welcome Coach Rere as I bring her up now.
Hey, hello everyone, and I hope you are
Hi,
doing
Coach
great.
Rere. Good evening. Can you
I
hear
hope we can
me?
all hear.
I can barely hear you though.
Okay, how about now? Can we hear me clearly now? All right, perfect. Hi everyone, and I hope we are doing great. So, like I've been introduced earlier, my name is Ririwa, and I'm a writer, an editor, and a writing coach. And aside to that, I'm also a registered dietitian. So let's just get into it. I'll be talking on four main points and I'll be breaking each of them down. So let's not forget we're going to be looking at writing and editing. And I'll be talking about the role of communication. I'll be talking about the importance of editing. I'll also be talking about and the place of good punctuation. So let's get right into it. So first off, I'll be talking about the role of writing in clear and confident communication. One of that when it comes to writing, it's only for professionals. Writing good, writing properly. It's they feel like it's meant for just professionals, and that is a huge mistake. Writing is everywhere. We text our loved ones, we send emails, we respond to emails. We post. On our social media platforms. So we write. Everybody writes. In one way or the other. So it's going to be a huge mistake if you feel like, oh, perfect or proper writing is reserved for just professional writing. And writing also goes beyond academics. A lot of people also just focus on the part of, okay, the only reason why I need to learn how to write properly is because of school. I might have term papers or I might need to write my thesis. So it goes beyond that. Like I said earlier, daily we write, daily we post on our statuses, we post on social media, we chat with friends, and we need to implement proper writing when we do these things because that is where it all starts. And courage, and what does that mean? It basically means that in paper, it becomes easier for you to be clear when you speak. Why? Because you make less mistakes, then you'll be able to watch the way you speak and also make less mistakes. So writing is very important. Like I said, it goes beyond what also another point is that confidence comes from thinking, and how best do you get to think better from writing? Over the years, something that really helps me with my speech and how I speak is that writing has helped me to be more thoughtful before writing. I take my time first. I don't just type whatever I feel like typing. I take my time. What do I actually want to write out? Some people might term it as overthinking, but the truth is that is you just being intentional, and intentionality is very important. When you begin to work on your able to choose your words more carefully, because you learn how to it's easy for you to choose your words when you speak. And writing, speak just as it comes, think about what they want to say, and that is why they tend to say things that they are not supposed to. But when it comes to writing, you learn how to slow down, you learn how to take things unnecessarily quickly. You take things bit by bit, and that's way it helps. It automatically translates to your speech. So I hope you are beginning to get everything right now. Writing is not just academic. Writing is not just professional writing. It actually affects even the littlest aspect of your speech. I hope you can all hear me. If you can hear me clearly, can we just type it in the chat box before we? Can we hear me? All right, perfect. So another point I have with me is that people who write well, they end up learning how to write with authority, and they end up speaking with authority and not just in volume. So we have certain people who speak a lot. In fact, they can pour out a million words in in a minute, but they do not speak with authority. Their words do not carry weight. their words do not carry authority. So when it comes to writing, you learn how to write with authority. You learn how to speak with authority. When once you begin to write with authority, it automatically translates to you being able to speak with authority. Why? Because you've had enough time to practice on paper. You've had enough time to practice on paper. You've had enough time to practice with your keyboards, and that makes it easier for you to actually come out there and speak with authority. Why? Because you already know what you want to say. You've already thought through it. You've taken your time, and that way people begin to listen to you better because you have worked on your writing, and your writing has automatically helped you to become a better speaker. Also, another point I have with me is that writing exposes some gaps in your thinking. Writing exposes gaps. A lot of times when we speak, you might not really notice that, oh, I'm saying this particular word wrong, or you might not notice that your word arrangement is wrong. In fact, I remember for a long time there were some congregations that I really didn't pay much attention to until I got deep into writing. So writing exposes some knowledge gaps, and the more you begin, like, you find out that, okay, I'm not doing this well. In as much as I might be saying it and it sounds right, on paper it doesn't look right, and that way it helps you to become a much better communicator. And finally, on the role of writing, the pen trains the mouth. Sorry, the pen trains the mind to lead the mouth. The pen trains the mind to lead the mouth. And it's just like a summary of everything I've been talking about regarding the role of writing in communication. So the more you write, the more you train your mind. The more you write, the more you train your mind to actually take time to pick your words much carefully, and it helps you to speak clearly and communicate better. So I'll be moving on to our second outline, and that is the importance of editing. The importance of editing. I know a lot of times we just pick up our phones. Okay, you need to text someone, you just text and then you send it. And maybe 2 days later, you're scrolling up your chat with that person, and what do you find? You find a typographical error. And why did that happen? You failed to edit. Why did you fail to edit? Because you thought that, oh, it's just a regular chat with a friend, so I do not need to, go above and beyond to edit. But that is where it begins. When you begin to, leave blunders and errors in your chat box, you would find yourself making that same mistake with emails, and you will automatically find yourself making that same mistake with more important documents. So editing is quite important. One thing I love to do before sharing anything, whether it's on social media, in my chat box, or on an email, one thing I do is to read through. Sometimes it sounds like, oh, this is going to take a lot of time, and I don't think I have the time to do that. But once you begin to do it, you begin to form a good habit, and you're able to take your time to look through what you've written. That's how you're going to find that missing word, or that missing punctuation, or misplaced punctuation, or you'll be able to find that wrong spelling. Unfortunately, should I say, yes, technology has kind of made us lazy because we have autocorrect, but we know that autocorrect isn't perfect. I'm sure it's something that we all know. Sometimes you might want to write a particular word or type something else, and autocorrect just changes it for you. And you might not know until maybe later on you just find what you've written, and you find out that there was an error that was not made by you. It was actually made by lazy. Let's not get lazy about it. We need to learn, we have to form that habit of actually calming down and reading through whatever we've written. It is very, very important. It cannot be overemphasized. So our first draft captures our ideas. And what's the first draft? It is essentially whatever you've penned down first. Whether it's your status that you're typing something on, or it's your chat box, or it's an email, or you're going to post something on social media, or you're writing an article. Your first draft is just you pouring out your ideas. It's just you pouring out what you have in mind, right? Sometimes I think of the first draft as thinking on paper. You're just trying to pour out your mind. So what do you do after the first draft? You don't just send it out. Anything could happen. You could have made a mistake somewhere. You need to be able to go over it. You need to be able to go over it. And that helps you, to find out if there are blunders or issues with what you've written. So another point that I have here is that editing removes excesses. It removes excesses and it sharpens meaning. So it removes excesses. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes you might have written a whole paragraph of words, and to you, you feel like, oh yes, I've done it. I've written what I want to write, and I'm going to send it out. But sometimes you find out that your words are actually in excess, and I don't know if we understand or if we are conversant with the term wordiness. That's when you have too many words when you could have just compressed what you want to say into a single sentence. I've seen a lot of people chat, and you might just find out that, oh, they've written a whole paragraph, and at the end of the day you find out that this is something that they could have just compiled or compressed into a sentence, and that is because they failed to read through what they wrote and they failed to edit. So editing is quite important. You have to go through it, and then it helps to cut off any excess word. It helps to cut off anything that is unnecessary actually, and it gives your words more meaning. It gives your word more meaning. And also, it is very important to always look through your written words before sharing. I have said that, and it cannot be overemphasized. Always look through what you've written before sharing. And to be honest, sometimes, yeah, after reading through what you've written, you might even find out that it wasn't even necessary to write that in the first place. Or you find out that, oh, I guess I should just say this in another way, or I should write this in another way. So do not just focus on what you've written the first time. There could always be mistakes, there could always be errors, and you could always have said some things in excess or some things that were unnecessary. So please always focus on editing. In fact, that should be your new mantra. Once I write, I'm not going to share it out without going through it once or twice. That is how you find errors, and that is how you learn how to communicate better on paper. And remember what I said earlier, writing helps you to think. And one of the areas where this thinking comes in is the editing process. So instead of you just sharing out your work, you're able to think through it. And as a communicator, when you want to speak, it helps you to calm down and think through what you want to say. It's more of like you now having this ingrained editing prowess. You just automatically try to edit what you have in mind and then pour it down. And that way you learn how to speak more confidently and clearly because you know what you are saying. You are very confident of what you are saying. Also, refinement separates amateurs from professionals. Some people do not understand that that particular job that they didn't get it because of their cover letter, or they didn't get it because of their response to an email, and that was because their work or their words were not refined. A lot of people do not really understand that. So that is what separates you from an amateur. That is what shows that you actually know what you're doing. So it's good to refine your work. As we know, silver is always in its rough form before it's refined, and your words should be like silver. Before refinement, it's just there, rough. And once you pour it out like that, people would not see the value in your words. I'm sure people would look at people, an untrained eye would look at unrefined silver and would not think that, oh, this is silver. They might just think that it's just something unnecessary. But when it has been refined, it's easy and clear for everyone to know that, oh, yes, this is silver, this is good. And the same thing, you know, could also be um, the same thing also applies to our words. Unrefined words will not actually be appreciated. It doesn't matter if you've written something that's amazing. Imagine if you have this great idea, you have something and you have to pitch it, you have to send an email, you want to actually want to give a picture of what you have in mind, and your words are not clear. They might just look at it and say, oh, this is just terrible writing, and I don't really understand what this person is trying to pass across. But once you refine your words, it makes it easy. Okay, yeah, this is what this person is trying to say, and I clearly understand it. And editing teaches discernment. It teaches you what stays and what goes. Like I said, it also applies to our words, the words we speak. Once you've learned how to calm down to edit your words, and you've learned how to let go of some things, it makes it easy for you to know the kind of words to speak and the kinds of words not to speak. It even helps you to know when to speak and when not to speak because you've learned the art of refining your words, you've learned the art of refining your ideas. And also, editing shows respect to your readers. Now, I can't imagine someone texting me, in short form. I know we understand, you know what short form is. Someone texting short form. To me, I'm going to feel like this person doesn't really respect me. And not in a bad way, because that's just how it is generally. The way you present yourself is the way people are present your words, is the way people will address you. And when you present your words in a reasonable and refined manner, it shows that, oh, I actually have respect for this person I'm saying a particular thing to. I've seen people send a message to um, CEOs and owners of companies, owners of to head of institutions, and the word choice is just terrible. And this could have been solved with proper editing. The word choice would just be terrible, and that person is going to feel offended. The person might not even respond to that person's message because the word just shows disrespect. And reputational risk. It reduces reputational risk. And what do I mean is that make some errors and blunders to say by mistake or write some words that might give your words a different meaning. So once you edit, you're able to let go of that emails and they've made mistakes. They wanted to write dear ma. Imagine situations like that where this was their type. It would have saved additional issues. Finally, clear words. That's on editing. Clear words carry more authority or authority. Edited words carry more authority. So let's try our best to work on editing our words before we send them out. And like I said, that still translates to the words we speak. Mental edition. Learn how to edit your words in your mind before speaking. So I'll be moving on to the next point, and that is intentional word choices. Intentional word choices that elevate our everyday conversations. Now, like I said, we talk to people every day. We chat with people, we send messages to our loved ones, we send messages to our friends, we respond to them, and our word choice is very important. Have we ever seen situations where there is a huge miscommunication between two people that are actually sending messages to one another? Someone means something, but the other person saw or misinterpreted it as something else. And why did that happen? Simply because of the other person's word choice. If you could just choose your words clearly, it would go a long way to help. Now, your words could portray two different things. Imagine if you're trying to be supportive. Yes, maybe somebody just lost someone, and the kind of words you use would actually show if you really care about that person or if you're really trying to be supportive or you're just trying to dismiss the person's feelings. So our word choices are important. And like I said earlier, poor word choices leads to gap in communication and it leads to miscommunication, which ends up breaking a lot of friendships and relationships. So can we see that writing is quite important? Good writing and good word choices are important. Now, words frame perception. It is like your first impression. We are in a world where you don't need to meet someone face to face before you give a particular impression. There are, you know, a lot of forms, a lot of mediums to actually give that first impression. Through chats, through emails, we give a particular impression to people, and the words we write, is what is going to is what is going to let them know the kind of person you are, even if you're not really that type of person. If you pick your words in a certain way, it's going to portray you in a certain light. So we have to be very careful with the kind of words we use. We have to be very careful with the kind of words we use when we're writing. And intentional vocabulary increases credibility. And like Moyolua said earlier, she spoke about the fact that we need to learn new words. We really need to learn new words. There are a lot of platforms, a lot of opportunities for us to learn and expand our vocabulary. And when we are intentional about the words we use, it improves our credibility. I just want to give us a very funny example. We know about a lot of scammers, they'll send messages to people, and you would see some of them. It is obvious that, oh, they say they're trying to represent a company, right? But the kind of words they use shows someone that probably did not finish secondary school. That's eventually just their credibility is lost automatically. But the ones that are wise or smart, I'd say, the ones that are wise or smart use good language. They arrange their words properly. They type in perfect English with the right punctuations, and that is how they end up scamming people because you know, give that um they give that image of credibility through their words. Yes. So poor word choice dilutes strong ideas. When you just pour out your words anyhow, you don't refine them, you don't choose the right words, it ends up diluting whatever big idea you have or whatever big idea you're writing about. And your word choice is proof of your competence, the kind of words you use, the extent or the broadness of your vocabulary shows that, okay, yes, this person actually knows what he or she is doing. This person actually has, great ideas and has something reasonable to share. And like I said, this goes beyond professional environment. It goes beyond academic environment. Our day-to-day conversations with the people around us, the word choice is very important. What kind of words do you use? Because if you get too used to using poor words when you are chatting with a friend, you might make a mistake and just get used to it and make use of it in your daily routine. So your word choices are very, very important. They carry weight. They carry a lot of weight. And even the best words lose power without proper structure. The best words lose their power structure. I hope you can still hear me clearly. Can we hear me clearly? I'll be all right. So we're moving on to our final point is the outline. Conclusion is very important, in fact, and unfortunately, a lot of people do not care about it. They chat with people who as why because it's just a regular text, right? Text could help, could end up making you form a habit that it is very important for us to pay attention. You learn how to put your commas in the right over time. As a writer, one of the use proper punctuation, then semicolons, colons, even the emojis that everybody thinks is reserved for AI. No, it's not reserved for AI. Anybody can use the M dash as long as you know how to use it properly. So it's very important for us to use the right punctuation. Do we use full stops in chats? I'm sure we do not. Do we use commas? People do not really focus on using commas, they don't focus on using stops as long as it's just regular chat. But like I said, this is how habits are formed. So we need to counter attack this particular habit. We need to learn to use our punctuations. You can make a decision now to make use of proper punctuation, even in the littlest chats, even if it's your younger sibling you're chatting with. Ensure that you use the proper placement of punctuations. Gives you more weight and it shows that, oh, you're not just a child writing something. It shows that you actually know what you're doing. So punctuations are very, very important. Very important. And there's something also called the Oxford comma. It's something that you can also go ahead to read on, because when it comes to punctuation, I prefer teaching it visually in a way that people actually see what I'm actually trying to portray. Because if I say it, it might not be as clear as you being able to see it. But I'll just advise that you learn about the Oxford comma, you learn how to use commas properly, you learn how to use the semicolons at the right places, you learn how to use your colon, you learn how to use the M dash and the N dash. You learn how to use the ellipses. Let me talk about the ellipses a little bit. So ellipses are those dots. You know when you're trying to trail off in your speech and you want to show that in writing, those dots that you see after maybe one, two, three. Some people make the mistake of putting five dots or just two dots. Some people might put like eight dots because they feel like, oh, it's just, you know, dots that show that I'm training off, with my words. But no, it actually matters. Ellipses are supposed to be just three dots. Three dots. So let's just keep that in mind. So punctuation is very important. You have to be very, very you have to pay enough attention on your punctuation. You have to pay enough attention on how you use them. And like I said, just like editing, just like refinement, punctuations give your work credibility. When you use properly punctuated words, it portrays you as a very organized person. I can't even begin to overemphasize that. It portrays you as an organized person. I enjoy talking I enjoy having discussions and conversations on text with people that know how to use proper punctuation. In fact, it shows that you know what you're doing. So proper punctuation is very, very important. So I've gone through the 4 points. The first one I spoke about was the role of good writing in clear and confident communication. I'm just going to give us a rundown of each of the outlines. So good writing helps. It helps you to become a better speaker. It helps you to become, a better orator. It helps you to communicate clearly, and it helps you to think before you speak. Because once you learn how to write properly, you learn that it's not everything that you have in mind that you have to share, right? Next, I spoke about editing, the importance of refinement, how our words function, and when we don't refine our words, we end up looking like amateurs instead of the professionals that we're trying to look like. I also spoke about the importance of good word choice, and I said that it doesn't matter if you're talking to a friend, it doesn't matter if you're talking to your parents, the kind of words you use are important. I spoke about the fact that miscommunication due to poor word choice has broken a lot of relationships. You just find out that, oh, this person stops talking to me suddenly, and you feel like, oh, you didn't do anything wrong. But you might not know that the choice of words that you used were not actually good, or they were not profitable to the other person. So please, it's very important to choose your words carefully. Now, I'm not trying to tell us to overthink our words or overthink the words we want to type or say. I'm just trying to let us know that there's also a huge importance in being careful with the words that we use, because relationships are very important, right? And we do not want to lose relationships, whether professional or personal. We do not want to lose them due to the kind of words that we use. And finally, I spoke about punctuation, how we should learn how to use punctuation in proper places, and how it is important to use punctuations even in you know things as little as our chats with friends and loved ones, right? And I also said that we need to learn how to use our commas, full stops, semicolons, colons, and yes, ellipses, m dashes, n dashes, even the exclamation mark. Yes, that reminds me. Let me talk briefly on the exclamation mark. So a lot of people make the mistake of using the exclamation mark a lot in a paragraph. You can see it like 3 or 4 times in a paragraph. Why? It gives an outlook of you trying to shout if you use exclamation marks a lot in your sentence or your paragraph. So be careful of where you place it. Like I said, these are things that you can always read on and learn about on your own. Take out time to learn how to use proper punctuation. It's quite important. And finally, using all caps, that's to all capital letters to type actually portrays that you are shouting. It's as simple as that. Once you use all capital letters to type, when it's not a heading, then it's just as good as you shouting. It's just as good as you being loud. So please use your capital letters at the right places. Use your punctuation in the right places. So that's that with the outline, and I'll just give us some little tips. To be a better writer, you need to be a good reader, and that's how you learn. That's one of the things that helped me. I read a lot, and I've seen how people use their words properly. I've seen how people choose their words carefully. I've seen how people put out properly edited work that you wouldn't even see any unnecessary typographical errors or blunders. So read. If you want to be a good writer and a good speaker, you need to read more. You need to choose the right type of books to read. Now, there are some books that are for pleasure, right? Some books are for pleasure, but the language used is not necessarily beneficial when it comes to learning how to speak and write properly. But there are also books that could also be for pleasure. At the same time, they help and build our writing skills, they help and build our speaking skills. So we need to learn how to read. A lot of people don't read. They will tell you that, oh, instead of reading, I can always listen to this as a podcast, or instead of reading, I can always, watch a video on it. But reading actually goes a long way. It helps you to become a better writer and a better speaker. Another tip I'd give is the fact that we need to practice writing. You might not even really text, you might not really have something important to write, but you could be texting a loved one. Be intentional about what you text. That is how you build or form a habit. So practice, practice, practice. Practice helps you to grow, and practice helps you to get better. So keep practicing. Practice in chat box, practice with friends, practice on your status. There's nothing wrong in practicing. You can't practice too much. You only keep getting better when you keep practicing. So thank you very much for having me, and I hope you learned a thing or two tonight. I hope you learned something from this brief discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Coach Rere. Thank you so much for that amazing session. Can we say thank you to her in the comment section? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Coach Rere. Thank you. Can see our comment. Thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much. So very quickly, because we are far behind schedule, like I said before, if you have questions, please let's feel free to type them. Feel free to type them. Feel free to type them. Coach is still with us. So feel free to type a question. She talked about the importance of writing, editing, using your punctuation marks very correctly, and mental thinking, filtering your words before actually sending them out is very important. So please, any question on those tips, those outlines you have given us, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Also, if you have questions concerning my short session, hi Bayo, I see you. Good evening. So thank you so much for coming. If you have questions, I would wait a few minutes. Can anyone, if you have a question, just type yes. I would wait. Other than that, I would like to round off right now, right about now. Well, then, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Apologies for a late start. We had a network glitch, like it was so unprecedented. So I'm waiting if there are any questions. I can't see any. Oh, Bio has a question. Hi, Bio. Good evening. I was about to say good afternoon. Can you imagine that? Hi, Bio. Good afternoon. Good evening. Gosh. Okay. So hi. Yes, please feel free to type in your question. Feel free to type your question. We have a few minutes left, actually. So So I'm waiting in for Bayo's question. Oh, thank you so much. Coach Rere, one of us is saying thank you for the session. I think we should show Coach Rere's face. Coach Rere, do you mind us seeing your lovely face again at this stage? So thank you so much. Thank you so much for this amazing session. So, Bayo, I'm waiting for your question. Oh. Time is running. I really don't want to keep up with her. She has been so helpful and patient so far. But my question for everyone, what have you learned so far in the class? I have shared, and she was our most active participant. Thank you so much, sir. I'm seeing a lot of. So, what have you learned in the class today? Can you please retrace those points? Yes. So, if you can see the live, if you can see the live comments, you would see some things we have articulated. And thankfully, it's a live stream, so you can go back to watch it. Hide, thrive with motivation. So, but then retracing those points, we'll come to that soon. But let me take this question, then I'll just retrace the points again as quickly as I can. So, Bayo says, all right, so I was listening to a podcast on articulating your thoughts. The speaker said to be a good speaker, you need to be a good writer as well. Yes. So your question, this is a good point. Yes, very correct. So your question, what is your question, Bio? I'm waiting for your question. I'm waiting for your question. So before Bio types out his question, hi Thrive with Motivation. Thank you so much for joining in despite the delay. Apologies for that. That's on me. We're talking about the importance of being intentional with your speaking and also being intentional with your writing. Our coach told us that we should be intentional about writing. We should make sure we mentally filter what we are saying in our brains before we write. So here's the question. Aligning with what Coach Rere said, I also agree. But how do you intentionally write? Do you discard AI? Coach Rere, please, did you get the question?
Yes, I did. Okay, so
Thank you.
when it comes to AI, I wouldn't really advise people to rely on AI if you know you really want to learn how to write intentionally. Because AI makes you get lazy and it is not creative. It doesn't have this personalized touch. It's best to keep your thoughts original, like you said, or keep your thoughts original. That is actually the best. And the only way you can just do that is to keep working on yourself, keep practicing. Don't get or don't fall into that trap of using AI. I know a lot of people advocate for, oh, use AI to write. AI has made things easier, right? But the truth is that it's two sides of a coin. If you weren't already a good writer and you end up learning how to rely on AI when it comes to writing early on, you're going to have issues in the long run. Because what if you find yourself in a situation where you have to write down something and there's no AI in sight? You're going to have problems with that. And like you said, still circling back to being good speakers, good orators, right? You've not been able to practice when it comes to writing, and AI can't do the practicing for you. So it is only through learning how to write intentionally that is the only way you can actually learn how to speak better. You cannot rely on AI. In fact, I feel like AI is for when you've already learned how to write intentionally and you just need a little support or you just need you're good to go. But if you want to relearn how to structure your words very well, structure your words properly, it's best for you to just keep a smooth. At first it might look sketchy, but that is just the process. And the duration where everybody wants to skip the process and we have things that are lacking the tips, but do not rely on AI from the beginning. I hope I answered your question.
Bio, I hope your question has been answered. I hope your question has been answered. Bio, I hope your question has been answered. Are you still with us, Bio? Can you see here? I'm just gonna hear this. Anywho, thank you so much. I would like to the thank you, Bio. You're such an amazing person. Thank you. An amazing participant. Well understood. Thank God. So, Coach, Oro, thank you so much for joining, for teaching us, working some tables. So the way we edit, you perceive was how did you say it? The way you type, like you literally enjoy people that have good conversations, filtered conversations, in comparison to those that are raw. Anyway, we take note of those things, be better writers. So thank you so much, everyone. We're coming to the end of today's stream, today's class. Thank you so much for those that stayed to the end. You guys are amazing, amazing. Free to listen on in the meeting. It's live stream, so you can always go back to listen to it. You can always go back to listen to it. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance, everyone. Thank you so much, Coach Ray. Once again, I'm grateful and thankful for having this with you. Thank you so much. So, everyone, bye. Bye, everyone.